Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing my March wrap up, and I had so many good reads this month. I'm so excited. I've got my reading journal here that we're just gonna open up, and I need to update it a little bit because I just finished a book. I read 18 books in the month of February, which is really good, especially since it's a small, like a shorter month. And I had some good reads, some not so good reads, so we're just gonna get into it. Okay, now that my reading journal is updated. Okay, so let's do the DNFs and get them out of the way because I've already unhauled them from my shelf. So the first one was Lessons in Chemistry. It just wasn't for me. I even bought the audiobook and I could not get through it. The same thing with the Thursday Murder Club. I gave this 2 tries. I even bought the audiobook, and I could not get into it. It just was not for me. So those are my 2 DNFs for the month. And then I even put like an X through this one because I almost DNF'd it. I know you couldn't see that, but I ended up getting another chance and ended up reading it. So let's get into the books. We're not gonna go into any particular order because they're kind of just stacked here. So first of all, I finished From Blood and Ash today. Look at the tabs. Just go ahead and look at those tabs. Look at those beautiful tabs. This was actually a reread for me. I read this before, and it was when I was just getting into like my fantasy reading era. And the first time I read it, I remember feeling so bored. There were points and I was just like forcing myself to read it. And if you hear anything in the background, my son's home from school. But in this go around, I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I don't know. This and ACOTAR has a place. I might even like this more than ACOTAR, just because there's so much more going on in this as far as like the world and the magic system and all that. So, and the creatures, like, oh, I love From Blood and Ash. I love it so much. So, 5 stars. All right, we are going backwards because they're all, so I ended up reading the first 2 books in the Boys of Bellerose series, and oh my gosh, Tate James, I would read her grocery list. I love everything she writes. She mostly writes reverse harem, so it's one girl that ends up with multiple guys. But so I read Poison Roses and Dirty Truths. I gave this one 5 stars. Like, the setup to the series, so freaking good, and I gave this one 4 stars. This one was 3.5 chili peppers for spice, and this one was just 3. What more can I say? So basically this series is about a girl named Billy, and we start off with her in this compromising position where she's working, where she finally finds a job. Like, this happened in the first like 20 pages, so it's not really any spoilers. She finally gets a job, and she starts working at this restaurant. Well, this restaurant gets held up by some mafia members. Some people die. They start coming after her, and she runs. She ends up running away. She runs into goodness gracious. Rhett. I don't know why I said Theo. She ends up running into Rhett, he is a member of a band who the band just so happens to belong to her ex-boyfriend. And so we follow it from there. He's like, I will protect you. And so we follow it from there. This is going to be a romance between her and the 3 guys in the band. And then I think we may, I don't know, that's probably a spoiler, but loved it. I love everything Tate James writes. My absolute favorite series from her is the Madison Kate series. And I know that it's getting traditionally published, and Bloom is coming out. Like, the last book comes out March 20th or something like that. Every time one comes out and I'm at the bookstore and I see it, I pick it up because I love that series. I reread it every year. It's like, with ACOTAR, I read ACOTAR, I reread it every year. And so there's a bunch of series, like just a few series that I reread every single year. I am totally like just off on a tangent. Anyway, let's get back on track. So the first 2 books in the Boys of Bellerose series, I ended up starting the Remnant Chronicle series. This is the series that comes before the Dance of Thieves duology. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. The first half was kind of boring. The second half was like, okay, what's going on? I see. So I'm excited to jump into the second one. So basically we are following Leah, and she flees on her wedding day. It's an arranged marriage. She has never laid eyes on this man, and it's between, she is a princess, so it's like to join the two kingdoms. She's never laid eyes on this man, and she flees, and we follow her from there, and it's just, I enjoyed it. I can't wait to jump into the next one and see like where it goes, because I did try to read Dance of Thieves without reading this first, and I was totally confused. So I'm hoping that now that I am reading this, I can jump into Dance of Thieves after this and enjoy it, and not be like, what in the world is going on? All right, I read The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. I gave this 4 stars. It was really good. I gave it 4 stars. Once again, this is an arranged marriage. Definitely enemies to lovers. They try to kill each other a couple times. It's so good, so good. The next one, The Stolen Heir, I've read before, but I'm just gonna reread it because I loved it so much. It's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but I enjoyed it so much. I have read some of Sophie Lark's books in the past, and I was like, I don't know if she's for me, but I've noticed that as my like reading tastes like evolve, cause used to I was a full has to have plot, like cannot be character based. Now I can read either one, but this is definitely a plot driven. But anyway, so Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. I read the 3rd book in the Blood Tie series, Ours. This wraps up Wraith's trilogy. The next book starts following a different set of characters. I gave this one 3 stars. It was going to be a 2.5, but the ending bumped it up half a star. Yes, because I am that kind of person. If I do not like a book, but the ending, it just is really good, then I will bump it up half a star. But I gave this 3.5 on Spice. So I can't really tell you much because it is the 3rd book, but basically we're following Wraith and her stepbrothers. There is this like secret society that they're trying to overthrow. There's this mystery behind like her mom and kind of what the this organization like does, and I mean it's something. It's very Wattpad-y. There are a lot of cringy moments, and I kind of tended to look past those cringy moments just because I wanted to find out like more what was going on, and like not so much the romance but like the other plot. So 3 stars, it is what it is. Then I am back in my Kelsey Ray area, y'all. I read A Little Complicated. I gave this 4.75 stars. This is a hockey romance. Kelsey Ray knows how to do hockey romance. I'm currently reading the series. This is a reread for me because I read the first 2 in the series, but I forgot what happens. But A Little Complicated is the Next Generation series that comes from this. So I'm currently reading this because, I don't know, she just does hockey romance right, and this was so freaking good. I gave this 4.75 stars. So we're following our main character, Ophelia, which I love that name. I love that name. So we're following our main character, Ophelia, and her love interests, who are twins, Archer and Maverick. And this starts off with, she has a mystery man is what they call it. So she was supposed to go to prom with this mystery man. He called, he broke her heart. This is what happens in like the first 20 pages, so this isn't spoilers, but he calls, breaks up with her right before she's supposed to leave for prom, and they call up her friend Archer. He ends up taking her, and they end up dating, and then we follow them from there. Very emotional. Have some tissues ready. I will put in a picture of me when I was like at the 70% mark. Like you can see, I stopped tabbing right at the 70% mark, if it'll focus. I stopped tabbing about at the 70% mark because I was so distraught. Like I was like, I can't tab. I need to find out what happens. Like I will put in, like I said, I will put in a picture of my reaction, but boo-hooed. I was like Snapchatting my best friend. I was like, you need to read this, but be prepared. It's gonna break your heart. Oh my gosh, it was so freaking good. I read Bride by Allie Hazelwood. I gave this 4.75 stars. Y'all, this has opened up a whole new like subgenre I didn't even know that I was interested in. Omegaverse. Like at first I heard of Omegaverse and I was like, that's not for me. I'm not gonna read anything in that. After this, I'm like, give me all the recommendations. Like I've already went and got The Fake Mate, which is also a shifter romance. Like, this is between a vampire and a werewolf. This is a werewolf shifter romance. After I finished this, I went to Target the next day and bought this. Like, so good. So basically, we're following our main character, Misery. She is a vampire, and then Lo, who is a werewolf, and they are in an arranged marriage because they are trying to unite their different species, because they're trying to come to an alliance. They're trying to come to a, you know, they're not, so that way they're not at each other's throats, because you have the wares, you have the vampires, and then you have, or I kind of read it as vampire because Allie Hazelwood wrote it with a Y, but either way, and the humans, and they all live like in this area together, but they're all sanctioned off to the territories, and so we're following our two main characters. They get married. They are an arranged marriage to kind of hopefully form, you know, not really an alliance, but kind of, what's the word? Yeah, an alliance. To uphold an alliance between the vampires and their mortal enemies, the Wares. So, it was really good. We follow our characters from there. I love this book. It's definitely, like, probably my favorite from her so far. I finished up the Culpable series with Our Fault. This was definitely my favorite of the series. I gave this 4 stars. It wraps up really nicely. We do have some heartbreak in there, and it's just, I loved it. I loved it. I can't really tell you much because it is the last one in a series, or a trilogy. But if you like Wattpad, you will love this, because this series, you can definitely tell it started, I think it might have started off on Wattpad, I'm not sure. And it's marketed as young adult. There is no way this is young adult. Some of the stuff that happens in this series, especially with like the spice and stuff, this should not be young adult. But anyway, I digress. I enjoyed it very much. 4 stars. I gave it 2 for spice. So yeah. All right, then we get into what you saw me read this in a vlog, I believe, but I read Bright Young Women. I gave this 4 stars. I loved it. So basically, as we're reading, we know that this is based on Ted Bundy, the Ted Bundy killings. We are following the women, which I don't think, I am a little crooked. All right, as good as it's gonna get. So we're following the women in this story, and this is like based off of the murders from the Florida University, and I loved it. And I loved how she called it Bright Young Women, because like the judge and everything kept calling him a bright young man, how he could have been, you know, such a great lawyer, blah blah blah. No, just because he's good looking and he murdered people. And this opened up like a new genre to me, which is true crime, which my husband is obsessed with true crime. And so I went to Barnes like the day that I was reading this, or the day after I read this, and I was like, okay, I went to the true crime table and I was like, which one should I start with? So I ended up getting a Ted Bundy book. So it has like the letters he wrote from prison, and it's got surveillance pictures, and it's like everything. So I'm getting into my true crime era. I also have If You Tell, which is a true crime one. So I have 2 true crime books now that I'm looking forward to reading because of this book. So thank you, Jessica Knoll. But anyway, I very much like the writing. I loved it. And I know there's mixed reviews on this, but I quite enjoyed it. Okay, now we go to my babies. Magnolia Parks. I gave it 4.5. The ending, oh my gosh, the ending, y'all. I'm scared to read like the next Magnolia Parks book because of that ending. But I very much enjoy this. I can't really tell you a whole lot because it is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Parks like world, like the series. But I loved it so much. Magnolia and BJ, I am of the few that like Magnolia and BJ more than Christian and Daisy, but I loved it. I loved it. I cannot wait to continue the series. But it was so good. It was so good. If you love Gossip Girl, if you love rich people, and if you love like a bunch of toxic relationships, you will love this. I loved it so much. Oh my goodness, please don't fall over. I ended up reading the 1st book in the Savage Lands. If you hear my son in the background, I am so sorry. But I read the 1st book in the Savage Lands. I gave this 4 stars. I forgot how addicting these books were. Like, are they good? No. But are they good? Yes. So I really much enjoyed it. I can't wait. I know the next one is on my TBR for March, so I'm really excited. I read the first 3 and then just kind of left off and never really continued the series, but I own all 6, so I'm rereading the first 3 so that I can get through and read the next 3. So yeah, but so we are following our main character Brexley, and she was born the night that the wall between the Fey world and the human world fell. And this is like set in Budapest, and you have the Fey side and the human side, and they don't like each other. They don't get along. And so Brexley and like we start off with Brexley being like the Robin Hood or whatever. Like she will get on the trains and steal things so that she can help the poor and everything on the human side. But she ends up getting caught and thrown into this like death prison, and she literally has to fight for her survival, and it's so good. That's like the first like 50 pages, so that's not really a spoiler, but really, really good. I highly recommend if you're looking for structure or like something like, I don't know, I don't even know where I was going with that, but I very much enjoyed it. I mean, I would recommend, you know, if you're into, I don't know where I was going with that either. I ended up rereading If He Had Been With Me. I reread this because I have If Only I Had Told Her, and I had completely forgotten what happened to this because I read this like 2 years ago. When was this even published? Copyright 2013, 2019. So yeah, I read this like 2-3 years ago. It is YA. There are moments where it's a little bit cringy, but it drew emotions out of me. I cried, and you know that if I cry, it's a good book, because there are some books where people are like, oh my gosh, like I boo-hooed, and I read it and I'm like, it wasn't that sad. But this one got me. So if it pulls that emotion out of me, then no, like that's a good book. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. So we were following our main character Autumn, who and her best friend Finn, and they have been best friends since they were like children. Like their moms are best friends, and they end up, as they get older, they end up growing apart, and we follow their story from there. Like from the first chapter, you know that it's going to end sad, and as you're reading, you're like hoping that that's going to change. And so I don't know, I enjoyed it. I've heard mixed reviews about the next one, so I've been putting it off just a little bit because I'm scared, because it was one of like my anticipated reads, and I'm scared that I'm not gonna like it, so I've been putting it off. So hopefully I'll get to it, but and soon. In a video, I believe. No, it wasn't in a video, I'm not sure. Anyway, I read There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. I gave this 3.5 stars. This has serial killers in it, and it's a romance, so do with that what you will. We are following Cole, and we are following Mara, and they're artists. Cole's choice of medium is it's a little, I question it. But yeah, so we're following them. He begins stalking her, discovering that there's more to her than just her struggle. But he's a predator, and the city is his hunting ground. That basically sums it up. So I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to reading the next one in March, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this was my second time trying it out, and I actually finished it this time, so round of applause for me. And then the next three books you saw me read in my reading special editions for a week vlog. So we will start off with this one. The first time I tried it, so first of all, it's 7 Faceless Saints. The first time I tried it, I DNF'd it, and then I was like, you know what, I have the audiobook, I'll give it another chance. I gave it 2.75 stars, and I don't think I'm going to continue the series. And I might just unhaul this. I don't know. I just don't think it was for me. But anyway, we are following our main characters, Roz and Damien. And Roz is, she'll do anything to tear down the corporate system, and Damien is the youngest captain in history. So we have some enemies to lovers there. And when a disciple is murdered, they have to team up to hunt the killer. So it's like a mystery thriller. It's set in like a fantasy. Anyway, the idea was good. just not for me. A book that I really enjoyed was The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. This is like a gothic mystery romance. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I gave this 3.5 stars. And it's a beautiful edition. I got this off Pango. Beautiful. Like, look at that. Like, it's a beautiful edition, and the end papers make so much sense after you read it, but anyway, I digress. We are following our main character Indigo, and the bridegroom. We never learn what the bridegroom's name is. He's just known as the bridegroom. And he believed in fairy tales, and he believes in fairy tales, and he ends up marrying the mysterious Indigo, and we follow from there. There is, she learns that her estranged aunt is dying. They're forced to return home, and then some things from the past start to reveal themselves. I very much enjoyed it. So I highly recommend, but I love this. Nothing gets prettier than that. Nothing is prettier than that. And like the end pages match like the background. Oh, I love it. I love it. And then this is not really a special edition. It's just because of it's got traditionally published. I know a lot of traditional publishers now are coming out with like limited edition, like limited first editions and all that. And so this is basically what that is. I gave this 4 stars. This is Gothicana. This is Gothicana by Runix. And we are following Corvina, and she comes to this school, and she meets Vad. And there is like, I don't know. I love the mystery aspect. Like, it had a little bit of paranormal / mystery aspects to it. I liked the romance. I know that not a whole lot of people like the romance because they can't really feel like the chemistry. I enjoyed it, but yeah. So she comes to this, and like there's a play on Edgar Allan Poe, because the school is called Varenmore, which like is a play on Nevermore by Edgar Allan Poe, and there's like, we have a lot of like ravens and crows that come up. Like, it's just, I liked it. So we have a forbidden romance, a mystery, we have some paranormal aspects, so I really enjoyed it. And then last but not least, the first book I finished in the month of February, which is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I gave this 4 stars. In this book, he breaks the 4th wall, and like the narrator is kind of like talking to us, like it's like he's writing a journal or something. But we follow, like, we get a glimpse into the lives of like the rich and famous, and they end up on like an island as like a getaway, and there was like twists and turns that I never saw coming. It says this is a tale of murder, or maybe that's not quite true. So we're following Lana and Elliot, and we're following Lana and Elliot and like a whole group, and they go to a private Greek island. And it says, I tell you this because you may think you know the story. You probably read about it at the time. It caused a real stir in the tabloids. If you remember, it had all the necessary ingredients for a press sensation. A celebrity, a private island cut off by the wind, and a murder. I really enjoyed it. So far, everything that I've written by Alex Michaelides, I've enjoyed. So I currently have The Maidens on my TBR, so we'll see how I enjoy that. But anyway, but yeah, so thank you. Look, thumbnail. So yeah, all right, let's do a quick journal moment. Okay, so here is what my graph is looking like. So we had 14 books in January, 16 books in January, 18 books in February. Here is what, so the black book, I put 2 of the same book on there, so I just blacked it out. The gray books are books that I DNF'd, and then blue is January, pink is February. And I think, you can hear my son in the background, I know you can. I think for March, I might do like this aquamarine, like greenish blue color. So I think that's what I'm gonna do for March. But real quick, I've got a sticky note on here just so I can track my pages for today. Because today is 29th, but we have pages I read in a day. This day, I finished like 2 books this day. But this is how it turned out. And then these are all the books that I read. And I really like the smaller like size. It looks a lot better than, let me show you. So I like this a lot better than this. I don't know. And it saves me from using 2 pages. And then not a whole lot of quotes, but some very quality ones. And then here's what March is looking like. So it's very plain right now. I know I'll probably add some stuff throughout the month. So here's my books read, ready to go. So yeah, so that's our little flip through. Thank you so much for watching. Those are the, what did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Those are the 18 books that I read in the month of February, which is pretty good for such a short month. If you have not already, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment down below. What did you read in February? And if there's any books that you think that I would like, I always like getting recommendations, so just leave those down below. Don't forget to do all of the YouTube things so that you never miss when I upload. And I will see you in my next one.